Hello there, my beautiful creature that I haven't looked at for a while.
I know, it's been so long since I've seen you. You're so gorgeous.
Oh, so are you. I'm feasting my eyes. I love your optical illusion, background, so that, like you're merging into the motion of the energy that we're swimming in.
Thank you for noticing. That's what I'm going for.
It's kind of hard to miss it, but I'm glad that you.
I love your glasses. Oh, what was that?
I like the obvious. I like that you state the obvious, because I don't think that really words should be skipped over. I think that if you're going to get the immediacy, the full benefit of the immediacy of the moment, let me turn this fan off. It's hot here. You have to stay present, which is the secret.
Yeah. It also seems to me that like so many things that seem obvious these days to me are not obvious to the rest of the world. So just to be safe, better to state everything.
Okay, but I think that no matter what generation, era, that civilization that we find ourselves in, we're still going to take ourselves with us, this energy field that we generate. So, like if people like us in different dimensions or don't, it's really kind of our job to keep on top of our frequency, so that we choose it.
So that we choose how we're vibrating, or so that we choose how we're being received, or both?
Choose how we're vibrating, and then it's up to the receiver to deal with our truth. So it's not really our job to be mindful. I mean, you don't want to hurt anybody. But you have to be mindful of your own energy emissions, because that's going to connect you to archetypal forces. And the earth is surrounded by bandwidth links of these like radio station bands, not just the Schumann resonance, which they like into a radio station. Right. But there's these frequencies that our auras tune in. Our auras are like a receiver, and you can tune into different stations. And I only like certain stations, which are, I'm not an elitist. I know that life is yin yang, but if I can, I will choose to, say that negative. I say this over and over. For example, negative ideas or negative suggestions have no influence over any state of mind that I'm having, no matter what dimension I'm in. So I'm going to navigate as a free wheeler, like wherever I'm going to land in whatever dimension. So the whole secret is to wake up wherever you are. So this is the dream, which many people, different cultures insist that it is. And what is a dream? I mean, words are just translations of what's happening to us. So we assign the word dream. Well, who decided, is it brain wavelengths? Yes. But why can't we operate with the dream wavelengths while we're awake? So we have a waking dream. In this dream, which is waking, like in a nighttime dream, you wake up. They call it a lucid dream. So let's wake up in our daytime dream. That's my goal. As my mission in life is to personally wake up the most I can. And that is the equivalent of being more alive. So I'm writing this book, Telepathic Stargirl, and it's all about how to be more alive, no matter where you find yourself. And only you know if you are. So there you go. Only you know if you are. Like no one else knows. How would anyone else know? Well, on the other hand, you can vibrate and know that you have a sympathetic friend or vibration that you can communicate telepathically with, which is what you're doing, is being a great listener.
Okay. In this first couple minutes, you've touched on so many things that are so synchronistic and up for me right now. So I'm just gonna, of course you did. I'm just gonna pick and choose in no particular order. So I have been wondering, like, why don't we just embrace the fact that we dream? Like, that feels like one of the biggest mysteries that I myself am embodying in this waking life, that every night I go to sleep and I have this incredibly vivid dream life, and we don't question it. And it's just kind of cast aside as like, oh, that's just that little thing that happens at night. And then I'm kind of walking through this density, trusting that like I'm doing great on some dimension, like on some dimension, it's super fun and it makes a lot of sense, but maybe not so on this one. But like, why do we dream?
Well, this is in action, expanding paranormal vocabulary and using language to sound our waking experience, which is, I just woke up, I had this dream. Okay, we're used to talking like this. But what if we used language differently? And what if we didn't just assume that dream was in the past, like when we were asleep? What if we marry the two vibrations of the dimensions and honor that it's all connected, because it is?
What if the dream is actually like guidance for approaching our day? Or if
it is, though. Not what if, for sure it is.
Right? Like, what if it's this whole, like, if the calendar like the whole biorhythms included the dream? Like when I wake up in the morning, I meditate, I pull tarot cards, I do a bunch of things. So what if I brought the dream into it to see, okay, well, how do I weave that into this day? Or maybe it's the cherry on top of the day before. I just feel like we're not really you're exactly right. The language that we've ascribed to it has us framing it in a way that just feels like so limiting and not really doing the dream time justice.
And it's very well designed that way and does a perfect job at it. It's impeccable. Whoever designed this control system, mind control system, I got to give them like a 5-star rating.
Seriously, they're really good at their jobs. I hope they won an award.
Oh, I think that it's inevitable.
Do you have any sense of what this realm, planet, dimension would be like without the inverted control grid laid on top of it? Would it even function?
You mean to say like the yin and yang of all the natural law of life?
Not necessarily duality, but like if language, like let's just take language time and dream time, just these three things. If those hadn't been co-opted and distorted to the extent that they are, let alone all the symbolic inversions that we live, like what would it be like in this realm?
Well, that's like a layer cake. And I find, because there's an immediacy of this moment with our heart breath, and that's commanding our entranceway to deeper understanding of all realms in life, the key to all aliveness. The answer lies in the question. The question is imperative. So, I mean, because of my Zen like nature, I know that everything is included in the divine 0-1. If this is a computer program, then we're 0-1ing all the time, like Deepak Chopra said, that life is turning on and off at lightning speeds in this moment. So I love the story of that quantum physicist that Alan Watts told the story of, who wore these huge fuzzy like snowshoe slippers so he wouldn't fall through the floors, because he understood that everything was vibrating and that it wasn't solid as we think it is. So I know it looks like a backstage or backdoor entrance to answering a question, but actually having a wherewithal of how things actually work, that we're in a state of decay as all of life, and there's nothing to resist because there's nothing to hold on to begin with, because nature provides us with, makes it easy on us because we're decaying as we speak. Now, this is just the earth expression, but these forces of light and dark, like AI, versus humans. I'm pretty sure it's everywhere in the universe. So wherever they can conquest or like, you know, like with chakra system, a stronger chakra can overpower a weaker one.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the Earth's conscious field is a combination of all of our auras. And so as we strengthen our own, like say, energy setting, then we add and contribute to the bandwidth length of other like-minded souls on Earth, such as yourself. And we know a lot of people that we don't even know that we connect with, that we're grateful for. So we're just blessed to know each other and everyone who can understand this language that we speak. Because it is a language. It's like Tolkien, you know, it's like Middle Earth language or something. Right. It's only for people that like, we're interested, okay? And so, but that doesn't limit itself to Earth, because all these archetypal energies, I keep raising my hand like they're up there, but you know, they're here too. We're walking through them. They're there as well. And everything gets lonely. And even the higher energies like angels, not to anthropomorphize, but I guess it has to be, angels get lonely. It's like all life atrophies, and I'm writing about that in my Telepathic Stargirl book, because when you ask for help from higher realms, you have to be a good listener. If you ask for help from your holy guardian angel, which is your higher self, you have to have a dialogue. It has to be an ongoing connection. And you're the one who has to notice when the connection wanes, because then you have to do something to notice what am I doing that isn't life-giving? How did I just disconnect from that vital energy source of myself? You know, you don't want to be walking around without that connection. It's like you and me, babe. I look in the mirror, right? So it's like us. It's like we're in us. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the higher self and the human is a team. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. And so I know this did not address your question, which is because the question had so many layers. So see if you could ask me the same question or get there like with what I just said, or for how we could maybe work that into our communication.
Okay. I'm going to circle back to it because you just said like 12 more things that I want to speak to before they get too far away.
Ooh, oh shit.
It's just going to be this meta layered kind of fractal holographic unfolding, and the audience will totally keep up. So when you mentioned,
I'm trying to keep up too. Okay, let's go.
When you mention these moments when we like notice that we've disconnected from our higher angelic self and we need to do something to reestablish that connection, like, yeah. So can you give me an example of an instance of how you would notice that you
that you had a higher self,
or that you've lost that connection?
Well, first you have to notice that you have it.
Yeah.
Notice if you lose it.
Okay, so walk us through all the pieces.
Well, you know, you have to talk to yourself. I mean, I have no problem. I've always talked to myself, but a lot of people talk to themselves, and now they talk to their phones, which is pretty much talking to yourself in a way, you know. But there is, if you have a focus point, say I'm an artist, say, so I can focus on a piece of creation, and the intention is beauty and higher vibe. So I can almost coast on a current that comes through that I can recognize as like, oh, I just had an idea, like Einstein or Tesla or Edison. It's like those ideas, or they just catnapped in a way, and they got a whole new piece of information that it was a non-local mind experience. I tuned into, so that's the higher self. Now, I'm not equivocating the higher self with the non-local mind. The higher self is, there's like a trinity. It's our bodies, our higher self, our holy guardian angel, our etheric double, our spiritual doppelganger. This thing above our heads that we're part of is a replica of us, and it's an energy being. It's going over my head, and then I'll just like show that energy. Nope, she didn't. The energy being didn't show up, but some people can see it, And
Can you?
and that sits in this non-local sea of unified field, divine consciousness. So that's the Trinity, and that's what I say the Trinity is. And that is how you organize. Like, you got an ego body, and you have a higher instinct that comes through heart breath. Like, when you slow your breath down, your heartbeat slows down, and that's a mindful awareness that your body and your being, your soulful being is related. So the heart is the first chakra of the spiritual realm, right? So the upper chamber now, as you bring your awareness to slowing down your breath and dropping your tongue to the bottom of your mouth, and breathing with I like to say, I'm getting better and better every day in every way. I drop my tongue, because I did it when I was a kid, and it really worked for me. So now I'm doing it again, and it's really like, I just want to stay with the archetypal higher cool vibes. Like, it's like, I don't need to do drugs, because that's like a drug. That's why people meditate for 2 hours instead of half hour. It's like, what? It's like, you may not understand why people might meditate so long, because it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get there, which is, a moment to moment practice of swimming in this energy with people. Because if we don't have each other, the synergy of our connection it doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, but it gets amplified through awareness.
Okay.
Awareness is actually time, because the more you wake up, the more you realize, oh shit, like, I'm late, or like, when you come out of your trance, you become aware of time. When you're waking up, you have awareness. To me, that's time.
Mm-hmm.
Time doesn't exist. And but the more aware I become, the more I'm aware of, like, how fragile everything is, and how everybody I love is going to die, and that this is a temporary, like, timeline. And so that helps me to be more grateful for what I do have, and not be assuming that it's not enough, which is very popular. It seems in the 2022 mindset is of Earth, is that they need more, but it doesn't come from the outside. It only comes from within, and that's just the way it goes. It's like, it just works that way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And so, in terms of, like, I know you mentioned, like, if you can get there, right? Like, you don't take drugs because you're in this blissed out state through meditation, and some people will meditate for hours at a time because it feels so good. In terms of, like, this connection with, like, this non-local intelligence or whatever it is that, like, comes through and is like, I invented electricity, I created a beautiful painting. Like, do you have any practices or techniques for cultivating that connection?
We are that thing that you're talking about. It's not separate from us.
Mm-hmm.
We're blocking it. It's like we're throwing logs on the road, like, cartoon characters. You got to jump over these logs that we construct.
Interesting. So we're the ones distracting ourselves from the true nature.
Oh yeah, we're in it. We're swimming in this field.
Yeah.
All we have to do is somehow find a way to connect to it. It's not outside of us. That's the secret.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inside job. And
do you experience loneliness?
Of course.
And then, do you have strategies to deal with that?
Loneliness is the best way. My best strategy is to talk to myself so that I make myself laugh. Like, the more jokes I tell myself that I like, I'm much better company for myself. So I must say I do. I have enough tragedy to find the comedy, because I'm open for experiences. I'm not couch potato. I'm not living under a rock. I'm taking on life, and I'm willingly inviting life and experiences, and they're hard. People are, like, on different levels, and it's hard to. It's sometimes, being around people in general, the field gets like they call it a group thought consensus, where there's it's actually like a wall sometimes, and you gotta, whoa, I gotta get around that. And so it's just, you gotta have energy to repair from interactions, because we've been raised so miserably, like unaware of our true nature and gifts, that we always have to interface with these traumas and wounds that become the dominant force in the room. But whatever energy is the strongest sets the tone for the room. Well, these are all the things in my book that this is a lot of information. I better slow down, because I don't want meditate. I always hated people that said, oh, how long did you meditate today? This is like 15, 20 years ago. I'm like, what is this, some kind of competition? Like, are we competing for meditation? I was just always like, oh boy, that's not the purpose of it. It's and meditation is, we already know we're meditating right now. So just meditate, however, whatever you want to call med. What does med mean? Measure. It's like, just do what you do. And I like when you disappear. That's like,
because I have an etymology dictionary right here, and I want to look up med.
Not to be confused with etymology.
It is etymology.
Oh, not entomo. Not to be
No,
confused.
words, not bugs. Maybe that'll be my new slogan.
It's the buzzword today.
Words, not bugs. There's no med.
Aren't we doing a broadcast on bugs? Oh, darn.
I just got this etymology dictionary, and it kind of sucks. It doesn't even have med in it.
Doesn't even have, sorry?
It doesn't have med, M-E-D, in it.
Well, that's like Latin.
Med, I would imagine it'd be middle, right?
Oh, I don't care.
Okay. All right. So I love that. I love you so much. All right. For context, so I heard you mention archetype a couple times, and I'm
okay.
extremely interested in them. So from my perspective, because we haven't introduced the audience to you, though I will do an intro before this, Charisse Landise, healer, artist, musician, wise woman, fashionista extraordinaire, Queen of Beechwood, priestess of Beechwood,
Telepathic Stargirl.
Telepathic Stargirl. I'm so glad that you're writing that book.
Latest work is an oracle book for everybody to understand how to become more alive. So I'm still working on it, but it's kind of a go-to manual for Earthlings. It's an Earth Guide manual for Star Childs, and it's also a chakra oracle. So we have these frequencies that are coexisting within us and connect with the energy of the earth. And it's up to us to generate whatever we want to.
Totally. So I'm super excited for this book, and thank you on behalf of humanity for writing it for us, because Lord knows we could use it.
It's a mission. It is. It totally is. I have to do it. I'm on a mission.
I feel like that's the only reason to ever write a book, is because you can't not write the book. Not where, like, it's something that is clawing to come through, and that the planet needs to receive this information. Because a lot of times I'll hear, like, I don't know, celebrities or influencers or whatnot, like, I think maybe I should add a book to my resume. And I'm like, please don't. If that's your reason for writing a book, please don't do it.
My mother, who's 102, always says, but everybody writes books. Why are you writing a book? I mean, she said, everybody does that. It's very in to write a book. That's actually, I'm not writing the book for other people. I got to confess, because I was writing it for myself initially, just so that, because we're programmed and mind controlled to keep forgetting who we are. And I needed something just to keep under my pillow so I could just open it in the middle of the night. And so I did it for myself. I'm doing it for myself. And then I'm testing it. So everything is like on a vibration that is uplifting, because as much as it's a mission, it's also it's also it's energy, and it's a way to be creative and jam pack something with a specific energy, just like a song or something. I would just like, you know, have a specific feeling while I wrote it, or and same with the book. You have a certain feeling, and then that gets carries through. And then anybody, like, of course, I love people, and I want. I'll share if I ever have extra. I love sharing it. So this is me attempting to have some extra, but first for myself.
I love that you just specified that when you have extra, then you give. I think that's crucial. And I also like that you're doing this for yourself. Like, I think, you know, personally, that speaks to my entire body of work, which is just me in the process of mastering these things, but it's also more authentic that way. You're not like seeking external validation or playing into like stories of achievement or this or that. It's like for the best possible reason for you and what's wanting to come through you and what you're wanting to remind yourself. And then what emanates from that like is organic and beautiful and not contrived.
Well, the first 50 years of your life, you think you have time. It's too much time. And then after 50, it's like, there's no time. It's like, oh shit, you know, I didn't do what I had to do, and then you have to do it. So it's and then you have enough accumulation of traumas in your life that you see yourself through the dark night of the soul, or like you know, severe hardship or whatever. You come into the heart as wisdom. So all of the alchemy of the heart is you have a really raunchy experience and you turn it into wisdom and guidance, and so that you can learn from and it increases your energy so that you have a more to give, but it's not forgiving. You're not doing it for other people. You're doing it because that's a natural law of a human, that we are energy.
I love that.
Energy, you know, the meaning of communication is exchanging energy. And then the meaning of telepathy is an increase and an exchange of energy, an increase. So you're really, if you're volleying with somebody who isn't just thinking, you can access even more when you're talking. So you don't have, just because we're uttering sounds from the heart, because the heart meridian actually goes from the heart up, this meridian goes right to the tongue. So when we wag our tongues to speak, we're actually expressing our hearts. And if it doesn't work that way, then there's a you know, something intercepting, like a log on a road. There's something blocking it. So there are natural ways to learn what being alive is, because we never learned them. We were only taught what they were, and they weren't. That wasn't true.
So what I'm getting from, I'm having like an epiphany as you're speaking, because I have an interesting relationship with like socializing and other humans. And there's a part of me that longs to do it. And then very often the exchanges like are unsatisfying and I leave feeling depleted and like I would have had more fun alone. And what I realize is you mentioned telepathy, an expansion of information being the type of exchange that leads to discovery, right? Where we're unpacking novelty and I'm learning new things. And I'm realizing like those are the exchanges that turns me on. There are other exchanges where we're recycling stories that we've told before, which are essentially scripts where we're waiting for people to like say the right thing. And I don't really have a lot of patience or tolerance for those.
Well, that's why in what I'm writing, I'm focusing on, like, say you're in a room of people, and this is what I do. I have some techniques, psychic, like soulful techniques. One is that I scan the room for colors, like of people that I want to talk to. So like if I see somebody, depending on my mood, who's like, and of course I developed this over many years, and it is possible for anyone to develop. I know it sounds far out, I cannot help that, but it is within our reach. I scan a room and I'll go like, oh, that person's light pink. Okay, that person's light blue. Okay, light pink. Oh, kind, caring person. well, I might just gravitate over there and then keep looking, and then I'll be like, oh, light blue. Oh, that's a somebody with a good sense of humor. And then, depending upon my mood, like who I'm going to talk to, or that person's dark blue. Oh, that's like a artist, a visionary type. Depend again, like choose who you're talking to. Don't just be a victim of, because the humans right now are, I guess 90% are kind of in agreement of what the outside reality is. Talk to anybody. But that outside reality is like you close your eyes, you set your inside reality, and when you open your eyes, like a screen on your computer, that's you setting what you see on your screen. So say if you're in a dream, depending upon how your consciousness is, you can then you affect the dream. So it's the same true with waking state. It's like we can set what we're going to see on the screen of our room, our world. So of course, to a degree, because life is a sophisticated, intelligent system. It's like we're lucky to be part of it. So I'm just trying to learn. It's like reverse engineer life. Like, what is it like to be alive? I have to start from scratch because everything I was taught is so hilariously wrong that I'm like, wow, that's why I said when we first started out, it's like, man, whoever did this, they really nailed it. They nailed it, man. And I'm just like, it's so, as you disassemble it and refire neural pathways that are making alternative pathways in your bio sphere, so that you aren't just stuck on this one way of thinking, because it's not to humans' benefit to only think and have one skill set. So the most beautiful thing is to have options. Like you think like this, when you're not having a trauma, that's when you should be practicing, creating new options to use later if you need them.
Totally. Yeah.
Wait for some kind of experience, but that's how I woke up, by having experiences that were unpleasant. And then that woke me up. That slapped me with that good old wet noodle, all right. And then you just wake up and you're like, oh, but then it's a shock that other people aren't awake.
Yeah, there's that piece of it.
But then when you get past the fact that you can hang out with dogs or birds, I've got a bird friend outside. They're just visiting. They're migrating couple, and but they know me. They say hi. I'm like, so they're the earth is a good way to remember you're connected to everyone, even if you're not talking intellectually. Oh, I was going to say, when you scan a room, I avoid gray people. People actually have gray auras, and they're in their minds.
Okay, so this is what I was going to ask you. Is this color coding system yours specifically, or is it universal?
I don't know. I know that everything that I've done in the last 35 or 30 years, I should say, of my practice, healing practice, has been just tested. I think everybody has similar overlay blueprints of the auric field or the colors and what they mean. But there's a lot of variations on a theme. There's colors we can't see, and you can see them in a dream, but you can't see them when you're awake. And so it's like, we're assigning meaning to these colors through practice.
Do you ever come across beings who have no aura because they're not human?
Sure.
Oh, do you delve in? Like, do you?
I'm not interested. I only am interested in the human heart.
Okay.
Because that's the heart of the earth. I love the earth. I mean, not the way everybody else loves it. I mean, I just love that I am a being. I am part of the consciousness of earth because it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. But I'm not pretending that I mean, the earth does what it does. Humans aren't that big of a role in the earth. But they are at the same time that they're not. And that's why we really have to just be humble and not know that what we know. Like, I don't know. I say I love the earth, but my dad used to call me a tree hugger, and that used to really, I mean, we used to fight. This was like 30 years ago. And I didn't get it then. I didn't get that it was, a bad way to be. I thought it was important. But now I realize that me being the best I can be is the most sincere, heartfelt response to my moment. And I'm not guaranteed another one. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
there was this meme yesterday on Instagram or something. It was like, you have two lives. The one you have now and the one you have when you wake up, that this is the only one you have. They're two separate lives. And you think you have, guaranteed more. That life, yeah, that's like Walking Dead. I think we're actually dead according to our birth certificate and all these kinds of things. Like, I think we're supposed to be like, we're actually dead people according to the forces that we were born into. I was just fascinated by, it's not that unusual to be dead, like, because people seem dead. And so, yeah, I avoid those people.
Okay. So in terms of like, your dad called you a tree hugger. We've mentioned archetypes a couple times. Are there any archetypes that you identify with?
Archetypes that I identify with? Archetypes that I don't, yeah, like the archetypes are like, say we're looking at, one archetype is a force field of energy. So I identify with uplifting, insightful depth of ideas that are beyond words, but love and joy. I mean, I identify with those archetypes.
Someone asked me last week, they heard,
The other ones.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
Well, I
mean
was just thinking, if I'm gonna identify with an archetype like joy and love, I would say I do, because I don't identify, although, when I have pain or problems, I do find that I do sense myself identifying with it, but then my higher self is like, yeah, don't over identify with either. So do I identify? I mean, I think we're both. It's hard to say.
Okay, so specifically, someone asked me last week, because I'll often use the word, I'll identify as a witch, loosely, very loosely, right? And he's not the first one, but I've had people say, like, with your attunement to words, I'm surprised that you would use such a loaded word to identify with. And then the way that for me, we're given yet another trinity, maiden, mother, crone. Well, I'm none of those, and for so long I haven't been any of those. So which for me has felt most resonant, and I don't really have any negative associations with that.
Well, that's an interesting way to put it. Like, the crone is the lamplighter in the tarot. So that's just you shining the light a little bit ahead for other people. The word is like, has a bum rap on it. But a witch reminds me of Patti Smith in the late 70s. I lived in New York City and hung out with all the musicians at that time. And all her friends called her a witch. And then, like, a few years later, everybody was calling Yoko Ono a witch. And she's like, I'm a witch, I'm a bitch, I don't care what you call me. It's like, it really doesn't matter, like, what people think. I mean, I don't know about characterizing ourselves, because we're not our names. I mean, I don't know who I am. From moment to moment, I'm trying to learn how to be more of this life form that's inside of me growing. Obviously, this body is part of me, but temporary, but my soul is eternal. So I think I like that part of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really reticent to identify with any labels whatsoever because they're cages and they're loaded with, you know, stories and associations and all of those things. But then I look back to living in Beachwood Canyon with you and like, we're all kind of witchy. You know, I'm looking at, you know, Miriam was in Beachwood, and just kind of like the way I see it is an alchemical relationship to reality where everything is animate, everything is fair game for the playing and the tinkering, and it's very relational, kind of animistic way of approaching the world.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's a part of me that's reticent to say it because it is a witch hunt, you know. So yeah, I am sort of a witch, I guess. You know, I don't really like to identify with these words that people think, we don't like natural healing. We don't like but that, you know, again, that might be, see, the word witch is so misunderstood because of the legacy of the word in the wrong context. But a witch is really somebody who, and I identified when I was an herbalist, studying and pouring plants and making tinctures in the apothecaries. I worked with in Chicago. We were witches. I mean, we didn't even question it. It was like, this is what witches heal through, you know, cauldrons. And we brew up the tinctures, and then we administer them, and then people get better. I had a closet full of plants that I created, and you just go to the different, you know, oh, this, somebody needs something. I don't have that now, but I like living like that.
Same. And I think it's really relevant that you mentioned Patti Smith. Because she was also, you know, in terms of like rebranding a word, because she had the Jesus is I'm not going to say the word because I don't want to get thrown off of YouTube, but it rhymes with bigger, right? And her whole career, she wasn't canceled. She was never, you know, like marginalized as a racist. She was again, like taking another negative term back and empowering herself that way, which is kind of the way that I see, the way that I don't even observe myself using witch, but other people have pointed out to me. It's the same thing of like, I'm going to take this concept back from the dregs of society.